Shooting at night is expensive. Usually the crew has shot for the full day, and so if you want to shoot something at night, people have to be paid overtime, and it's also more challenging to light stuff at night. So oftentimes what happens is we create a day for night shot, and that is when it is shot during the day. And then in post-production, we have to go and take that scene and make it look as if it was shot at night. Now, we're going to be doing that with this clip, and the results are going to be pretty good, I think. But one of the reasons why this doesn't always work out that great, especially if it's a sunny day, you see the sun has very powerful directional light. So if you look at this building down here, we can see that the sun is very clearly coming in this direction because these surfaces that are facing this way are very bright, and these surfaces that are facing this way are very dark. That contrast is very strong. Now, moonlight can give you some of that contrast as well, but not nearly as much. So it's ideally best to not have day for night shots, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. So that's what this tutorial is for here. Now, our tasks are twofold. We need to change the color tone and we need to change the brightness level. So let's go ahead and apply the fast color corrector effect. And what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and we're going to go to the wheel and we're going to make this very blue. Now we also need to darken this quite a bit. So I'm going to scroll down here, and we could do this using levels. We could click on the midtone slider, drag this down. But the problem is that if you use the midtone slider here, although we've darkened pretty much everything, a lot of these areas that are pure white are still pure white, and they wouldn't be like that at nighttime. So we could adjust the output level white slider and drag this down to darken that if we wanted to, but I'm really just not liking the look I'm getting here. So I'm going to undo this by hitting Command Z multiple times. So we're just going to use the blue tint of the fast color corrector, and I'm going to close that effect up. Next, I'm going to go back to my effects panel, and I'm going to do a search for an effect called curves. So I'm going to apply RGB curves to my clip. Now, if we open this up, we'll see that we have several curves here, one for the master value, and then one for each of the red, green, and blue channels. If you're familiar with Photoshop, these curves work in the same way. And you probably also know that curves is one of the most powerful and advanced ways that we can adjust color or luminance in Photoshop. So my purpose here is not to explain to you the ins and outs of curves. Basically, this is essentially a map of the shadow areas on the left and the highlight areas on the right. And as we drag points downwards, we darken them. So this upper right-hand corner point represents the brightest parts of the image. So what I could do is drag that down, and then we take those bright whites that we were talking about before and takes those down. Then we could click somewhere in the middle of this line and click and drag this down. This will also darken the midtone values here. So what we need to do then is balance this so that we flatten this out, darken the midtones, and also reduce the values of the highlights so that they are fairly dark as well, and this becomes a fairly believable nighttime scene. Now, if we needed to, we could go back to our fast color corrector effect and we could maybe reduce some of the saturation, but I'm thinking this looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and go back up here. And if we take off the visibility of these effects by clicking the effects icon here in the effect controls panel, we could see the original and then what we did to it to change it to make it look like a nighttime shot. Now, again, although this does look fairly believable, and we could probably continue to tweak this to make it look more believable, you're still going to have a lot of these bright highlights here that are dead giveaways that this was not shot at night. So ideally, if you can help it, shoot at night, but if not, that is your task, to take things and make them more blue, because night light tends to be more bluish in color, and then also to darken not only the midtones, but also to darken the highlights as well.